Hey, everybody, welcome back. This episode was actually inspired by a post that I did on Instagram that kind of blew up. And my poor husband, he's not even on social media, but this post was about him and had his picture in it. And I just keep getting flooded with messages. Somebody said, "Can you expound on that a little more?" And I thought, you know what? I think I'll do that. So this is called House of Joy. And I'm really excited to dive in. But first, before I do, I want to introduce myself. If you're new, I am Dr. Edie Wadsworth. I sometimes call myself a creation coach, a joy coach, but I help passionate, high achieving women live with more joy, more presence, so that they can impact the generations with their incredible God given gifts. I often say I like to remind people of their magic. I think sometimes, especially if we're in transitions in life, we forget how much we still have to offer this world, how much we still have to give, how amazing the gifts are that God has given us. And I love to remind women of that and help them make their impact and get their gifts out in the world. So leave us a comment here if you're watching on YouTube. We love when you do that. It helps us make the content better, first of all, and it also helps us understand what really resonates with you so that we can really serve this community well. I'm also the creator and founder of Life Mentoring School, which is a monthly mentorship for women. We would love to have you there. And then I just started this year a life coach certification program for Christian women who want to become life coaches. It has been incredible. We are in our second round of delivering that program right now. Okay, so back to this post on Instagram that inspired this episode. It was all about the intentions that I set for my marriage. It's mostly been supportive comments, but occasionally people ask a question like, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? So I thought, man, this really has resonated. It's like struck a chord with my people. And so I wanted to devote this episode to that post, all about creating intention, not just in your marriage, but in your home. And home is on my mind a lot lately. First of all, we're studying how to transform your home and life with your powerful presence. We're studying that this month in Life Mentoring School. We basically take a major topic that women in whatever stage of life, but I find that I attract a lot of women my age that are kind of in that sort of close to an empty nest phase, but how to transform your home with your powerful presence. So I've been thinking a lot about home, and today, the day when I'm recording this episode, is September 7th, and it's my daughter Emmy's 22nd birthday. And for her birthday, she texted me a few weeks ago and said, "Mom, I want to come home for my birthday and bring all my college friends." So this ended up being, I think we ended up having 11 of them, boys and girls, all 20 somethings. And we had hosted her friends before, so we kind of knew what we were getting into. And I'm telling you, these are some of the most darling people I've ever met. Stevie and I had an incredible time. And we have done a lot of work over the years. We have a big family, first of all, and we've done a lot of work over the years intentionally to make our house so inviting, to make it inviting for us. This is why the travel this season has been a little hard for me. We're actually leaving tomorrow again for a weekend away in Pittsburgh. Most of our family is coming. We're going to go watch the Vols play. It's my daughter Katie's 30th birthday. We're celebrating the girls' birthdays. The grandbaby's coming. It's going to be seriously amazing. So the travel is hard when you create your home as a place that is such a haven. That's why I wanted to call this episode House of Joy, because I want to give you some tips. People come into my house, like these 20 somethings came into my house this weekend, and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Oh, I love this. Your decor is so different and interesting." So I think they at first are drawn in by a lot of the physical things, a lot of the bright colors, all of the live plants, all of my diffusers. Like there's a lot of interesting things in my house. But I also am committed to keeping it clutter-free. So even though there are a lot of interesting things, I call myself a maximalist. I love, like you can tell, I love all my books. I have collections of things that I love, but I also love having cleaned off spaces so that it feels inviting to people when they come in. So I think part of what the 20-somethings enjoyed was there was plenty of space for them. I had a lot of the spaces cleaned off. so that they felt like, oh, I can put my stuff here. I'm welcome here. There's room for me here. So I think that's part of it. But I think the bigger part of it, and what I touched on in this post on Instagram, is the intention that I set in my mind for what I want to create in my life and in my home and in my marriage and with my kids. And I told my daughter Emmy this weekend, I said, my definition of winning at life is literally having you want to come home and bring all your friends here to spend her birthday with her parents. I just think, that's all my dreams come true right there. And she's so adorable. Her friends are adorable. I told her when we were singing happy birthday to her, I got all choked up. And I'm like, you feel like sunshine to me. You bring so much joy and so much light and so much warmth to everyone around you. And it doesn't surprise me that your friends feel like sunshine too. And of course, I start crying and she gets choked up. And, I think about all of the things that I have going on in my life. I have an amazing, incredible business that we've had just the most spectacular year in business, but there's nothing to me that replaces what I experienced this weekend with my own family, with my husband, watching him enjoy our kids and watching him just have so much fun with those college boys out on the boat and just talking football and all of that. And I feel like the connection that we have been able to cultivate in our home and as a family has been very intentional. And it's been years and years of deciding on purpose what kind of environment we want to create in our marriage, in our home, in our lives. And having these college kids in my house was such a reminder to me that that work has not been in vain. Like they could have been anywhere, done anything, and they chose to be here. And it just felt like such a dream come true and such a huge blessing and something that I don't take for granted. So I wanted to share with you 3 things that have helped me create this house of joy, as I'm now calling it. By the way, we watched House of Gucci. Many of you watched House of Gucci. It was a really interesting movie. Definitely not a house of joy, but it was so much proof to me that it's not the stuff, it's not your decor, it's not your home, how much money you're spending, or even what it looks like. It really is what you decide to create for yourself because of your presence there, right? It really is about that. It's not about, it really has nothing to do with decor, money, the size of your home, any of that. But I did want to share these 3 things that as I think about it, and this first thing that I'm going to share is what I wrote the post on Instagram that that is kind of exploding. But number 1 is I don't complain. I don't complain about my life. I don't complain about my marriage. I don't complain about my kids. I don't complain about the mess. I don't complain about myself. I just don't complain. And that might seem simple, but I'm not kidding you. It has transformed my life. And it's not that there's nothing to complain about because I am a normal person with a normal life, with a full plate. There's plenty that I could find to complain about. But I know the power of my thoughts and words. I know that thoughts become things. I know that those thoughts and those words turn into reality. They build walls or they build bridges. They build a life of connection that I truly love, or they build resentment and bitterness and isolation. And I choose connection. So I think part of the reason that I can just so enjoy a weekend like that when there's food everywhere and stuff everywhere and it's not how I would normally experience my own house. I just decide to enjoy it. I just decide that I'm not going to think about all of that stuff that could be complained about. And I do this in my marriage too. And I often ask myself, what would the highest version of me who just seeks the truest things in life, who seeks connection with my family, what would that version of her say and think? And I promise you that your experience of your own life, your experience of your kids, your experience of your marriage, your experience of being in your own home can never be better than the way you speak about it, than the way you think about it. So I want you to let that sink in. Your experience of your marriage, of your kids, can never be better than your thoughts about it. So take those thoughts captive. Ask yourself, am I always complaining? Am I always finding fault? Am I living in resentment? Do I have a lot of expectations that are going unmet? Or am I thinking thoughts that have me showing up as the most powerful, loving, nurturing, joyful version of myself? So I have trained myself to notice the miracles. So I was watching this weekend, and my daughter has this friend, Kylina, and she's so precious. And she's always hugging people and telling them she loves them. And she's always just encouraging people. She has the sweetest disposition. I noticed how Stevie, it's so easy for him to laugh. He laughs so easily. We were pulling Tom around on the tube, and we were all like, why is this so funny? Why is it so funny when people are like bouncing around on a tube or falling off on the tube on the lake? Why is it so funny? I noticed that. I noticed my daughter Ellie. She sends me the most hilarious texts. The way she texts is so funny. It's like all caps, 17 like short texts in a row. Like even when I just see a string of texts from her, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be good. But I noticed that. I noticed how on Friday I did a really hard workout, and I noticed how I felt then. I noticed the look when I'm coaching my clients, the look on their face when they have this light bulb moment. I just take it in and notice it. And I promise you that when you decide, this is number 2, when you decide to be delighted by the simplest things, when you take note of everything, when you decide that there are miracles all around you, if you dare to look, if you dare to take it in, and I just tell myself, I'm ready to be delighted. I'm ready to be in awe of my life, in awe of my marriage, in awe of my kids. I'm looking for ways to find joy, to be delighted, to laugh, to have fun. How could this be more fun? And by doing this, it makes everything around me better. It makes my experience of everything better, more joyful. I see the goodness of God everywhere because I decide to. I shine His light in the darkest of places. I choose to see people at their best, including myself, including my spouse, including my 20-somethings. There were so many amazing, tender, and funny moments this weekend. And I got to enjoy them because I decided to notice them. So I want to ask you this question. Are you easily delighted? And what if everything you could ever ask for is already right in front of you? Will you train your mind to notice it? And number 3, I decide to show up as my most loving, powerful, nurturing self. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And it's not something that I'm saying I always do. It's an intention for who I want to be. So I decide on purpose who I want to be. Maybe I don't always find evidence that she's the one showing up, but I do this by thinking this on purpose. I think this all the time. How would my most powerful, nurturing, loving self show up? And I think thoughts about myself that I want to be true. Thoughts like, you can borrow these thoughts if you'd like, nurturing people is my superpower. I bring sunshine everywhere I go. Everywhere I look, I see miracles. My zest for life is contagious. I create amazing, fulfilling relationships, and my marriage and my kids are at the top of the list. I am here for all of life in all its glory and all its heartache. That is the intention that I set for myself and my marriage, and I promise you that when you begin to do that, that is how you will experience your life. It will feel like a miracle. And it doesn't mean that life isn't hard. Lots of you said to me in response to this post, like, what about hard times? Yeah, that's why I create a statement for myself that I'm here for all of life in all its glory and all of its heartache. There will be hard times. All the more reason why you should set all these intentions, right? It means that I know it's going to be hard. If you read my book, All the Pretty Things, I wrote a memoir about my life. It has not been easy, not by a long shot. I know it's going to be hard, so I'm making myself ready. I'm making myself more resilient. I'm showing up as a warrior to my life, not as a victim. I'm taking charge of the parts that I can and making a beautiful story out of it all, despite the tragedies that life brings. The best stories always have those ups and downs. The best stories always have those challenges. The best stories always have that conflict, that rub. Of course, that's going to be there. But how you decide to show up to it is the point. I really believe that creating a house of joy is my life's work. It's what I can do in a world that is full of darkness and full of cynicism, that has lost its ever-loving mind. It's what I can do to fight against that darkness, to fight against that cynicism. It's my anthem of hope. It's my statement of love. It's how I bring heaven to earth. Now, does that mean it's perfect? It always looks like that? No, it means that that's the intention that I set. And I'm ready for it to be hard. And I've armed myself. I've created this place in my heart, in my mind, and in my home so that we're ready for that. And you can create your house of joy too. And you start with believing that you can. You don't look around at what you've created and shame yourself or blame yourself that you haven't created that yet. Sometimes I don't create that, but I set the intention that I can and I will. And I drop the story that it's too late. I drop the story of like, oh, I wish I had known this when my kids were smaller, or I don't have what it takes to do that. I just drop all those stories. I let go of the shame that maybe has been keeping me stuck. I stop complaining and I decide to be delighted in the simplest ways. I decide to show up with my most powerful, nurturing, loving self. To my house, to my life, to my marriage, to my kids. Here's what I promise you. You are a healing balm to your family. You are a nurturer and a life giver. And your house of joy is exactly what the world needs. So keep creating it on purpose. All right, dear ones, that is what I have for you today. I want to tell you really quick before I drop off this episode is that we are about to start our most epic live event of the year called Freedom Week. We open in just a few days. So watch my email. If you're not on my email list, go to ediewadsworthcoaching.com. That first little button that you see that says get my free guide, that will put you on our email list. And then on Friday, we are sending out an email so that you can join this Freedom Week live event. It's going to be epic. It's all about self-sabotage. So if you listen to today's episode, or if you read that post on Instagram and you were like, yeah, that's not me. That's never going to be me. I'm never going to be able to create that. You know what that is, my friend? That is called self-sabotage. And we are going to get rid of it for good in your life, so that you can show up big, so that you can stop procrastinating, so that you can stop complaining and comparing. And we are going to teach you why you do it, how it shows up in your life, and how to be done with it for good so that you can become the most powerful, nurturing, loving presence in your own life and in the lives of the people that you love. So that is coming September 21st through 23rd. And we want you to get that email Friday morning, sign up right away. This is going to be $7. We have never done a challenge for $7. We're doing a 3-day live event for the price of a Starbucks coffee. So there's no excuse to not join it. I wanted to set the bar low because I don't want you to have to think about it. I want you to just join us, and we are going to address the ways that self-sabotage is showing up for you, and we are going to be done with it. Okay? So I can't wait to see you there, and make sure you get on my email list so that you can join us. Love you. See you next time. Bye.